3 months after I started, they went bankrupt. Ended up basically wandering the streets of Shanghai, so to speak, and I forgot the details, but I ended up at a Bitcoin meetup. We literally ran out of money. So we were sweating and breaking. We already screwed up, half a year in, and things already breaking left and right. If we have a security hole and we get hacked and funds get stolen, it's our funds that get stolen, not the customers. Whatever others are building, in the end, if it's good, Bitcoin will adopt it. I think this Pandora's box is open. There's no stopping now.
What advice would you give, Kilian, to someone that's looking to start building on Bitcoin today?
Okay, let me try.
Welcome back to another episode of Your Bitcoin Story, the podcast where we explore the people, projects, and passion behind Bitcoin's ongoing revolution. I'm your host, Gigi, and today I'm excited to dive into a topic that's becoming more important than ever. Joining me is a builder at the forefront of this movement, Kilian, CEO of Boltz, a non-custodial Bitcoin bridge that enables seamless, trusted, minimized swaps between different Bitcoin layers like on-chain and Lightning, and even Liquid. Boltz is all about giving users sovereignty, speed, and control. No accounts, no custody, just pure Bitcoin ethos. We'll talk about the importance of decentralization in swaps, the challenges of bridging Bitcoin layers, and why keeping users in control is key to Bitcoin long-term success. Kilian, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the introduction.
My pleasure. And thank you for taking the time to jump on the show today. As I told you just before we hit the record button, I'm really excited about discussing Boltz, as it's something that I've been using personally, more or less day-to-day uses. And I think it deserves more audiences to learn about it and put it to use. But before we go into Boltz and how it all operates, let's take it back. How did you first discover Bitcoin and what pulled you in?
Yeah, that's the interesting one, I guess. For me personally, it was an absolute accident. I stumbled into Bitcoin. And I think the very, very special thing about how I discovered Bitcoin is I discovered Bitcoin while working on Bitcoin or in a Bitcoin company, which is probably very unusual. Wow. So it all started in 2015, early 2016, back in China, in Shanghai. So I was working like a good old German person that I am, working for a German automotive manufacturer, but pretty quickly discovered that this, big orb hierarchy thing is not for me. It's not for me to stay. It's something that you discover it's not for you, and you go and search for something else. So then I transferred to a smaller automotive company, Shanghai like a supplier from Shanghai that I got to know. And then the incredible thing happened. 3 months after I started, they went bankrupt.
Wow.
So
not a good timing.
Not a very good timing. I moved to Shanghai, set everything up, and I was like, really, is this happening? And ended up basically wandering the streets of Shanghai, so to speak. And I forgot the details, but I ended up at a Bitcoin meetup. So back then, Bitcoin was quite the thing. I mean, I knew about it. I knew China was big in Bitcoin and mining. And I heard Bitcoin before, but never owned any and never really touched it. Long story short, at the meetup, I met Samson Mo. And he convinced me that it's a good idea to appear at the office the next day to interview for a product manager job at BTC China.
So this is back when he was at BTC China. It was all the pre-Blockstream and
pre-Blockstream, exactly.
Yeah.
So long story short, I started working for BTC China the week after, and that's how I got
without
into
knowing
Bitcoin.
Much about Bitcoin, just kind of on the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. So I knew nothing, like close to nothing. I knew that it existed, but it was a steep learning curve, to say the least. Yeah. I was put in charge of the mining pool of all things. They were BTC China back then was running the third largest or sometimes second largest mining pool of the world. And it's like, okay, we need to fix the website. It's really bad for international miners. We want to onboard more international miners. And you speak English, that stuff. So I had to manage this team of Chinese developers to somehow fix the mining page and how they connect. So they connect their miners, and actually was immediately exposed to really deep tech Bitcoin stuff, Stratum protocol, what is that? Yeah.
Wow.
To figure out how all this worked. And then later on started working on a mobile wallet, which was pretty cool. So this was then my project, so to speak, which I did for, I think, more than 1.5 years. worked on a mobile wallet, which had also a special feature that you could send to a phone number instead of a Bitcoin address. Fully custodial, because I don't think I really understood the difference back then.
Yeah.
But the feature was nice. At parties, you would just go and send money, sats, to your friends. So actually, we were going with the bits denomination back then. So we were just sending money around, and you would get an SMS with a download link, claim your bits, and you clicked on it, and it downloaded the wallet. And I onboarded quite a bit of people from in my circle to Bitcoin back then. Added a Visa card. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the major advantage that I had was not only being in China and one of the most important companies back then in Bitcoin, but also having Samson and Bobby Lee, the CEO, as basically Bitcoin advocates right there. I think they saved me from, the typical shitcoin deviation that you usually do in the beginning. I think I did a little bit, to be honest, but it was that minor that I don't even remember. So they kind of set me clear as like, Bitcoin is the thing, like
here's the parameters, Kilian. Don't go outside the boundaries.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So yeah, that was my intro into Bitcoin, and it took me maybe 6, 7, 8 months to really grasp it and understand, whoa, what did I discover here? And then I went full on. I have to tell the world about it. In China, basically, you couldn't go anywhere to any party without me being there and ranting about Bitcoin to everyone.
If you're enjoying the show, it would mean a lot to me if you had hit subscribe and leave a quick rating or review. It helps more people find these conversations and support the mission. And if you need help getting your Bitcoin off exchanges and into self-custody, or if you're ready to build a robust, bespoke inheritance plan, the Become Unruggable one-on-one consulting program, where you will work exclusively with me, is exactly what you're looking for. You can find all the ways to reach out to me in the show notes down below.
Nice. So you couldn't be around me without me talking about it. I probably had some people steering clear of me after that because they're all about this dude. But no, it was a very exciting time. I got to see a lot of, I went to Sichuan, to the mining farms. I did a documentary with a filming crew from TechCrunch about mining in China, fly drone, it was just it was super exciting. It was not a single day was the same. Like, you would always hit this, and then the crackdowns slowly started. There were the first signs. Yanhang, the central bank, sent officials over. They were visiting the office, just looking around at first. And I was like, okay, that's not
Something's
good.
happening.
But yeah, so actually then I left BTC China at the end of 2017 to start something new with sponsored by a different company that already was the underpinning principle of Boltz today. It was called OpenDex, and it was the very ambitious attempt to build a decentralized exchange on Lightning. Remember, 2017.
Yeah.
This is before Lightning.
How old was Lightning? Like less than 12 months old. It was
it was not on mainnet yet.
Yeah. Wow.
It only L&D had a first mainnet release, I think, in April 2018 or something. It was pre-mainnet release where I actually discovered that the technology is pretty cool to do deliver a trading experience how you would have it on our at an exchange like BTC China, where you click a button and actually the order fills within a millisecond. The whole trade flow could be done within a couple of or like 2-3 seconds. I kind of realized that this was possible now with Lightning, but also realized, okay, trading Bitcoin for what? You had Lightning, you needed something on the other side. And of course, the most interesting thing was USDT, like dollars, basically. Yeah, that's what everyone wanted. So the idea of OpenDex was to actually build this fairly decentralized exchange with Lightning on the one side, and then basically, I was searching like hell for Lightning Pendant in the Ethereum world to have USDT from Ethereum on the other side. It was called Raiden. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It was the early attempt of Ethereum to basically replicate Lightning on Ethereum, similar but different. They then went bust, like the project didn't continue. We substituted it with a different state channel implementation, which then also went and pivoted, and the whole thing was like crumbling.
In shambles.
Didn't work out. But the cool thing was Boltz was born as a side effect of this entire endeavor, because we realized pretty quickly, I mean, we did so many mistakes, don't get me wrong, like the tech stack you had to run for this decentralized exchange, full Bitcoin node, a full Ethereum node, then the second layer, the Lightning nodes, and then even the third layer, the OpenDex daemon on top that then connects to peer-to-peer to others, collects the order book, does the matching, and
Do all the
it was insane.
balancing of channels, like no easy task.
Yeah, and so the management of channels actually turned out to be a real issue. And that's how OpenDex was born. So Michael, now a co-founder and CTO of Boltz, joined the team as an intern back then to, see what he can do. And it's like, yeah, we have this problem of liquidity on Lightning, because if people want to start trading, they have to be able to send and receive, but usually they're only able to do one of the two, which is usually send. So that's a problem. If my first order, gets Bitcoin in, so we have to have something that that controls the Lightning node and moves the liquidity where I need it. So that's how Boltz was born, basically as this add-on to the Lightning node, and this is still one of the major use cases we have today to rebalance the channels on demand, programmatically with an API. So he built that. So he wrote the first line of Boltz in probably 2017. 2018. No, 2018. No, it was 2018. In 2018, and then officially launched in April 2019. So this is where the official Boltz first release was there. But again, this was a side project of OpenDex back then. And fast forward in 2021.
7 years ago, eh? Not like 7 months, 7 years ago. It's pretty crazy now looking back at it, right?
Been doing this for way too long. And we then went down OpenDex, and it took us a while to, figure out our stuff, personal situation here and there. But
you kept it as a hobby side project in the first years, right? You didn't go full on full time.
No. So from 2021 to late 2022, actually Michael was mainly maintaining it because, I had family things to do. So he was actually maintaining it, just, not adding any new features, but always making sure things work, things are online, stuff works. And
making sure there's liquidity.
Exactly. Yes. That's the main maintenance issue of Boltz itself. And then we got together on a call with Carl, the third co-founder, who was also working on the main project on OpenDex before. And we looked at Boltz and it's like, guys, it's growing, it's organically. We literally don't do anything for it. The website is ugly AF. So still people use it. So there's something there. And you could see it's, we started writing SQL queries to see volume and comparing it and see it's actually growing. So I think this deserves more. What are your guys' plans for the next year or so? Just give it a shot. What do you think? So we got together and said, okay, come on, guys, we do it, give it a shot. We do this fully bootstrapped by ourselves. We don't go out, and the first focus is finding VCs and raising money. Is like we try to build this and see if it really catches on and could be something self-sustaining.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. So then in 2023, we also founded a legal entity in El Salvador, by the way, set this all up, made it. And from then on, like early 2023, it was the three of us full time. And
good timing, right? Like right as we were dipping out from the early 2023, it was a good time to really go all in, no?
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember the market so much because we were so focused on our stuff and building. But what was really handy in 2023 actually was May. May 2023 was where we had the ordinals craze, like basically clocking up the main chain like insane. Fees were through the roof. Fees were at
this was the ordinals phase, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we didn't factor that in at all. But what came in handy is that main chain fees were, well, not handy at all, actually. It was pretty devastating for us because it screwed us over the same way it screwed many others over in the system, because our swaps basically required us to lock up Bitcoin on the main chain. And we had like basically a week of fees constantly rising. So no matter which fee you chose in the mempool, it was just never confirmed because it just kept on rising.
Kept on going
something
up.
We've never had before, at least not that I can remember, not for consecutive like 9 days of fee rise. Like, when did we have that? Like never, but there we were. And we actually had to pause and switch off Boltz services and don't take more swap requests via the API and the front end stuff anymore because we literally ran out of money. So we were sweating and breaking, which was in the first moments like, okay, guys, we already screwed up, like, half a year in and things already breaking left and right. I mean, we know it's not our fault, but we should have anticipated this and had something planned for this kind of situation. And then it doomed on me. It's like, oh, wait. There's an OPR. Let me check. So there was an OPR that we had open since a year. So Michael actually worked on this while he was, bored at home the year before, a liquid integration. So he actually had this there like 95% ready to not only swap between Lightning and main chain, but also between Lightning and liquid. And then I said, okay, this is actually pretty cool. And we need it now because now you can swap instead of going to the main chain, which is completely unusable, completely clogged. And if you manage to get your transaction mined, it costs you $100 to use liquid.
You're paying crazy fees.
Yes. So he did work day and night, and I think we managed to pull this off in a matter of 1.5, maybe 2 weeks max to launch the first POC on mainnet at a separate domain, liquid.boltz.exchange, and gave it people to use. And it immediately took off. The cool thing, so this was the silver lining of this whole mess, was people understood. We didn't have to explain the value proposition of liquid swaps. It's like, yes, I don't have to pay. I don't have to deal with the main chain fees. Like I put in a transaction and it confirms within 60 seconds max, and the thing works. So this whole thing started growing organically over the next month. So then we, fleshed it out and did a proper integration and made this production grade ready. And the next year in January, we had Agua launch with using liquid swaps. So that's one of the pretty cool, that's a use case I'm pretty proud of that came out of all this. It's like, okay, we actually can build a new breed of mobile wallets now following the Moon wallet principle of not actually having Lightning in the mobile wallet, but using swaps to go in and out from Lightning. But this time we don't use the main chain because guess what? It breaks all the time. We use liquid instead. And that's been quite a success, to be honest. So this was then 2024. And basically since then we are in a pretty stable position. We added even more Bitcoin layers. By now we also have Rootstock, which is another sidechain, very similar to Liquid, different in the underlying technology, but from a sidechain perspective, it's another sidechain similar to Liquid, which also launched in 2018. So Lightning, Liquid, Rootstock all launched in 2018. So we have them all integrated now. And we are I want to stop my rant now, but we are a real company now.
A real company.
Yeah, which still feels weird, but we're trying to be as professional as we can. We have 2 full-time employees by now. So
2 full interns, you mean?
Yeah, interns, exactly.
No, it's incredible. And I guess to a large extent, like kind of Boltz is to be thanked for kind of really bootstrapping and bringing the crowds to Liquid network. Because prior to that, kind of Liquid had a slow start, and today like Liquid is very popular. And in my opinion, you had a big role to play in that with the bottlenecks that you had in the summer of 2023.
Yeah, I think the initial spark is just what I needed was the spark, and basically for others to discover it.
The initial bolt, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. Initial bolt. Today, I mean, we're still ran the numbers just, I think, 5 days ago. So we still have about probably around 30% of liquid transactions are somehow related to us, but that means there's also significant other players in there now. So that's pretty cool to see that others followed us and are building.
For sure. So I guess by now, some like 15 minutes in, some listeners are listening. Okay, Kilian's telling us about how Boltz was born, but like for the listeners who've never used it, like what is like how do you do a swap on Boltz? Like what does it require? Like just to give some kind of TLDR for people that are hearing Boltz for the first time.
Oh yeah, first to download Bitcoin Core using just joking. It's pretty simple, and this was one of the main objectives that we had when we were building Boltz. We had a website from almost the first day that we launched. So we wanted to be able to anyone with a regular Bitcoin wallet or with a regular Lightning wallet or a node or full node, doesn't matter, should be able to use Boltz. So our
No
idea
need
was
for software downloads, nothing. Just
exactly
open
the
a
website.
website,
Needs to
mobile
all
or PC.
live in a website. I call it actually web app usually because it's not a simple website. It does quite a bit of things, under the hood. So all the magic of Boltz, and the magic is mainly making sure that this swap experience remains non-custodial or self-custodial, meaning you actually never give away control of your money. That all had to fit into the website. The website had to take care of all of this. And many others went different approach, saying, oh, it's not possible on the website. It require you to actually download the software, and it only works with the software, not out of, And we actually managed to do that over the course of the year. So the UX in the beginning was questionable, to be honest, but people still managed to use it. And I would say nowadays it's actually pretty good and on par with any other no sign-up swap service out there. So I don't know if you go to SideShift or FixedFloat or to Changely or just to name a few, you basically have the swap box that says, I want to go from there to there with this amount. And you click next. That's exactly what you do in Boltz as well. So the simplest way to use Boltz, back to your question, is open boltz.exchange. Say from where to where you want to go. For example, I want to swap from Lightning to Liquid, put in the amount, which can be Sats or full Bitcoin. It automatically actually detects it. So the access actually, we try to improve it as much as we could. If you paste an amount, it would automatically detect if you mean Sats or probably full Bitcoin and stuff like that. You paste in the destination address, like the Liquid address where it's supposed to go, press next. The next step is already, please pay this invoice, and then you send the Lightning payment, and the Liquid payment automatically arrives in your Liquid wallet. And all the cryptographic shenanigans in order to construct the atomic swap, make sure and verify that it's actually an atomic swap. Basically, our website is always treating Boltz as like the enemy, like we have to don't trust verify, and it does a lot of checks. It actually checks the Lightning invoice it gets from Boltz if it's actually a swap invoice and if the amount is correct, and it does all that under the hood. That's seamless. The user doesn't need to worry or to know about it. So that's the easiest way. Website.
Yeah. No, I think, like nowadays it's much more, it's a much better idea if you have a great idea to do in the Bitcoin space, to do, as you said, a web app instead of building out the whole software, or like a mobile native app and then submitting it to Apple or the Google Play Store and doing the bureaucracy with them and trying to adjust it. Whereas if you do just a web app, you essentially have full sovereignty, no pun intended, to do what you want to do and keep it simple. And as you said, the steps are so easy, choosing which unit you want to switch for which one, amount, pay the invoice or send the on-chain amount, and that's it. Like everything else is done seamlessly behind you, which I think is super needed to keep the process as dumb-proof as possible. You don't want people to be going through multiple steps and losing themselves. So yeah, I'm really bullish on what you guys are doing, and definitely I can give you the kudos on the UX, on the UI. Sorry, it looks just on par, if not cleaner than the other ones, which I think is also something super important, that you want to give a pleasurable experience to especially new people that are in the space that are trying to do it. You don't want to overcomplicate it and have too many options.
Yeah, and it's the bar in the end, right? So in the bar has to be either how do I compete in the market? So either have a 10x better UX, but that's difficult if it's already very, very simple and already very good. And that's where the swap services are. So it's basically, okay, I have the value proposition. Oh, this is actually non-custodial. We can't shotgun KYC you. We can't freeze your funds. All that stuff that is definitely happening on all the other platforms because they have to follow the law and follow requests of law enforcement. We actually cannot do it because it's not custodial. So our value proposition is as good. You keep the UX as good or even slightly better than the existing one of swap services, but be non custodial. And of course, stick with Bitcoin so we don't, deviate to other directions.
Casinos.
So our niche really is Bitcoin layers. Coincidentally, seeing a lot of development and movement recently, which is of course amazing for us. I mean, we can talk about it in a little bit about the new layers we're integrating.
I have one specific layer in lined up that I want to touch upon, which I think you probably know which one, but we'll leave it for that point. I wanted to touch upon this non-custodial aspect, which what was the reason kind of, is it the personal, your guys' ethos of like, it should be non-custodial because at the end of the day, the saying, not your keys, not your coins, or was it to avoid all this, as you said, KYC and regulatory bureaucracy and just leave it up to them? Or was it a mixture of both?
Definitely a mixture of both. I mean, it all started with my fixation on atomic swaps. Once I discovered and understood how they work, I was like, well, this is the future. We have to use it for everything. But also, it was like, okay, we cannot say OpenDex is non-custodial. It's a real DEX, meaning non-custodial. But then the service that is managing the liquidity of the Lightning channels is not. It's like, this can't be. So it has to use the same underlying concept. I mean, this was kind of how it got started. So it was definitely an excitement about the technology that played a role there, but also our personal ethics. It's just, okay, if it's possible, you really should do it. And I couldn't understand why nobody else was doing it. So back then it was, Charlie Lee, the first one in 2017, doing a swap from Litecoin, atomic swap from Litecoin to Bitcoin. We actually replicated it in-house. So we did the one after Charlie Lee. It's like, wow, all command line. And wow, it really works. This is amazing. The ethics is the second one, and the third one is once we started taking polls as a professional and as a company, we had to make sure that we are not falling under regulation we don't want to fall under. And we had actually hard times, as you remember. The US was going in a very dangerous direction, like just 1.5 years ago.
Choke point 2.0 was
and also all the people that were in jail waiting for the court procedures to happen that were building non-custodial software and still partially are. Tornado Cash, I mean, Roman is still it's just crazy. We were that set on that being non-custodial makes us a different service than the custodian ones. Makes a lot of sense because we cannot misuse customer funds. We cannot, use them for something else than we say we do. We just simply cannot mess with funds. If we have a security hole and we get hacked and funds get stolen, it's our funds that get stolen, not the customers. That is just a very different tax surface and risk factor that we have as a company, as a professional business. So we should be regulated differently. It just all makes sense. And now, luckily, the US, and this is really the only jurisdiction you should be afraid of, even though you have no touching points with the US, which we don't. They change course, and being non-custodial means something again, which proves that this was the right decision. And it's also in El Salvador, where we are headquartered, where our legal entity is based right now. It just means that all the existing Bitcoin regulation, which is, there's something called a Bitcoin license, which is made for services that custody Bitcoin. Right, so you need compliance officer and all that stuff. So it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense for us.
So you're outside of those boundaries, basically.
Yes.
So you're free to do whatever you want, as long as you're not custodying customers' funds.
Yes, free to do whatever we want in the sense, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't know what happens if we deviate from Bitcoin, to be honest. But as long as we
think you want to deviate away from Bitcoin.
Deviate from Bitcoin denominated stuff, because I think they're treating it differently as well.
Got it.
But in general, yes, you are free.
So I wanted to also ask, so now kind of we've been praising the beauty and the easiness and the magic of swaps, but looking at the other side of potential like risks and threats, are there any like big threats or risks that users could encounter while doing the swapping between layers on Boltz or other providers?
Nothing is risk-free.
That's what I mean. Like when it comes to tech, nothing is ideal. Like, but potentially what could be some risks if that you could touch upon?
There's one major one. And the one major one is for certain swap directions, mainly if you're going from the chain, could be Liquid, could be the main chain, to Lightning or to another chain. You need to download or somehow save, by now it's actually a mnemonic, a secret key that is the key to refund to get your Bitcoins back in case the swap fails somehow. If all happy path, you're fine. But if things fail, in some scenarios, you need a secret key in order to claim your refund, basically get your coin back. So backing this up was a huge UX question, how to do that, given that we all wanted to live in a web app, which is an especially dangerous place for people to nuke all their data, which they do all the time. And we have Tor support, you have an onion address. The moment you close Tor browser, everything's gone. Like we have to handle these kind of scenarios gracefully while maintaining the liquid UX. So basically, until half a year ago, we went for downloading a so-called refund file. So every single swap you were doing that needed this backup, it was actually downloading a file onto your computer or onto your phone. We had to work around, for example, on iOS back in the day, or only recently, you can actually download regular files. Before it would only allow you to download photos. So we had to convert it to QR code and, do a lot of tricks to make this download and backup of the refund file work. And actually fairly recently, the annoying thing was we had to do it for every single swap. So these were single use refund files, so to speak. You lose it, swap fails,
flats are gone.
Money is gone. So luckily that didn't happen a lot because there are still some ways how you can sometimes recover funds via emergency measures. There were some cases where people lost money, right? And this hurts, right? This is really bad, especially when it's, a larger amount. That's really bad. So we were continuously trying to improve it somehow. And by now we actually have something we call rescue keys. So that's a 12-word mnemonic, just you would have it in any Bitcoin wallet or anything really nowadays, a BIP39 12-word mnemonic. That is the key for all your swaps you create with it. So it's not per swap. It's
the mnemonic key of your Bitcoin wallet on your phone.
No, it's not your wallet on your phone. It's the 12-word rescue key of
that swap.
Of Boltz, no, all swaps. All Boltz swaps that you do.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's basically like imagine it a little bit like a temporary wallet that lives in the Boltz website.
Okay.
Or temporary or permanent. If you never change it, it's actually permanent. You always use the same 12 words that derive new private keys for each swap to be used. But the point is you can recover all this if you just have that 12 words somewhere. And that improved things a lot because now it was not this single file that you somewhat downloaded, but then someone canceled it. Some browsers, they allow you to actually click the download button and the pop-up appears. But if you close it, it actually doesn't download, stuff like that. It would work around it in terms of like you have it downloaded once and we actually ask you to re-upload it to verify you actually downloaded it, which is a bad UX. But the good thing is you only have to do it once. Once you have done that, you're good.
Got it.
So that is a risk that exists with Boltz swaps. That's not that big of an issue if you have dedicated software. Like for example, an Agua wallet, they take care of that internally in Agua. You never see this key because it lives inside Agua.
I was gonna say because I had the personal experience just last month in BTC Prague at one of the dinners, the Treasure dinner. Max Hilderbrand was showing me this website where to buy like anonymously these eSIMs. And I wanted to buy it through Aqua. I sent the Lightning and basically it failed, the transaction. And I was like to Max, I was like, oh, well, he was like, oh man, so sorry about the sats that are gone. And I'm like, well, whatever, man. It was only like 2,000 sats. But then in a matter of like 10 minutes, those sats came back. And I was like, oh, Max, look, they actually came back. And he's like, oh, there you go. And I was like, wow, like an automatic refund, like it failed. And I had to do nothing, like, which was amazing. Like I didn't have to put the mnemonic ones. So yeah, like real use case anecdote, Gigi did get a refund for a failed transaction, which was very nice to see because that doesn't happen on on-chain. On-chain, you send something off and it doesn't go through. Bye-bye, like it's gone.
But it does happen on Lightning. So in order to replicate basically the good UX in that case of Lightning, if a payment fails, it just bounces back. We had to get those working on mobile for wallets like because that's what users expect. And honestly, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
So what Agua does basically, it guards this rescue
mnemonic
key for you, this mnemonic, and whenever the invoice expired, which in your case was probably 10 minutes, it's like, okay, then it gets a server notification from us in payment failed for whatever reason, Lightning, we couldn't pay to the destination. Then Agua just goes by itself and publishes the refund transaction. And that's then when you see magically the sats appearing back in your wallet, which has, I mean, it's amazing. It just has, you paid a couple of sats for the liquid transaction to go back and forth, but that's it, 100 sats.
Is this exclusive to Aqua or is that also native to other wallets? For example, like as you see me rocking the Bull Bitcoin.
Bull Bitcoin, the same, exactly.
It's the same thing, right?
Yes. Actually, Aqua is using Bull Bitcoin software under the hood. So Bull Bitcoin, kudos to the Bull Bitcoin team. Without them, Aqua...
Francis and the team are doing God's work.
The feature wouldn't exist.
One of the most fascinating aspects of Bitcoin mining is the economics behind it. When a miner solves a block, they're rewarded with a certain number of newly minted Bitcoin, known as the block reward. This reward is designed to incentivize miners to secure the network, and it's currently set at 3.125 Bitcoin per block. But what happens to this reward, and how does it affect the overall supply of Bitcoin? The block reward is the key component of the Bitcoin protocol, and it's designed to decrease over time. This decrease in block reward is known as halving, and it occurs every 210,000 blocks, approximately every 4 years. So far, we have had 4 halvings, where back in 2009, each block rewarded the miner with 50 Bitcoin. Currently, it's 3.125, and so forth. It halves every 210,000 blocks. As I mentioned, we've had 4 halvings so far, and we have another 28 halvings to go until all the Saz will be mined. By mining with Sazmining, you are not only accumulating Bitcoin through the block reward, but you're also contributing to the overall security and integrity of the network. And with their expert team and state-of-the-art equipment, you can rest assured that your mining operation is running at maximum efficiency. But the block reward isn't the only way the miners earn Bitcoin. They can also earn transaction fees, which are paid by users to prioritize their transactions. And with Sazmining, you can rest assured that your mining operation is optimized to earn the maximum amount of transaction fees possible. The state-of-the-art equipment and expert team ensures that your mining rig is running at peak performance and that you're earning the most Bitcoin possible. Sazmining offers a unique opportunity to participate in the Bitcoin mining economy and accumulate Bitcoin through the block rewards and transaction fees. With a user-friendly platform, you can easily track your mining progress, adjust your settings, and withdraw your coins whenever you wish to do so. And with their commitment to decentralization and sustainability, you can rest assured that your mining operation is part of a more sustainable ecosystem. Start mining wild sats today and get $50 off your first rig by signing up with the link in the show notes. Discover the satisfaction of earning your own Bitcoin and start mining with Sazmining today.
Yeah, with the privacy aspect and in holding customer funds, especially, I don't know how much you need to abide by EU regulations, but the EU is going crazy with getting companies to hold stuff and report on things, and especially with the travel rule, you're stating who you're sending your sat to. It's just getting crazy. Does the EU regulations somehow impact Boltz operations, or since you're based out and headquartered in El Salvador, you don't really care what happens in EU?
Both. It doesn't apply to us, but also since we're outside, if it were to apply to us, we have actually a way out, right? So first, it doesn't apply to us because state of today, July 28th, I actually did check it today, but I regularly check the definition of a VASP. So that's the thing in the MiCA regulation that is important for us to know. Right now, by the interpretation of a friendly Bitcoin lawyer, we do not fall under the definition of a VASP, meaning the entire thing doesn't apply to us. So no control, verification of where you're sending the money out to, because we are being treated as a regular Bitcoin wallet. So how do they call it? The non-hosted wallets, I don't need to verify where the money is going because of the fact it's a wallet that runs on my phone and is connected to the blockchain. So that is currently the case. The bad thing though is, and I had no idea in European, I had no idea this is even possible. The definition and actually major parts of that legislation can be changed without going through parliament and all the, process. What? Just overnight. So I actually have to watch it. So if they ever decide to directly, with a clear statement, include non-custodial services or non-custodial wallets into this, which of course will nuke everything for the EU, but if they one day decide to do that, it can happen tomorrow. So that's the bad thing. So here's the good thing. It was never an option for that very fact, and many others too, but this was the main reason why I never even considered headquartering in the European Union, because then our solution is we block all IP ranges from the European Union. If you decide to nuke Bitcoin in the European Union, feel free to do so, but it has nothing to do with us. With Boltz, nothing we can do against it. And so, of course, we are not engaging knowingly in the market that we know we are breaking the new, even though stupid law. So we can easily just not serve markets by blocking out the European Union the same way many other servers are blocking out the US with a simple IP filter.
But hypothetically, if that happens and EU decides tomorrow to bring in this, to extend the regulation to non-custodial operators, and for the people, the users in Europe, can't they just bypass that by doing it via VPN, or yes or no?
Recommend it?
You're not recommending anything. I don't want to put you into hot waters. It's just like, for example, where I'm based.
Will say highly recommended to do that. I mean, this is already happening, and I'm actually proud. So I'm currently here in Spain. I'm not sure if you're following the news about Spain, but the internet is heavily censored at this point. So there's a war.
Just like the UK, eh? UK is going through crazy times.
I'm not sure. It's probably worse in the entire
really
civilized world. Yeah, whenever there's a football match on, 40% of the internet stops working. When the football match is off, things work again. The reason is La Liga, the football liga here in Spain, managed to use the system to have basically their own blacklist of IPs they are allowed to block because they pirate football streams. That is the justification. The bad thing is these IPs are behind Cloudflare. And as we all know, or Versal, as we all know, half of the internet is served by these two entities by now, meaning half of the internet goes down when they switch on the block.
Wow. So we picked a good time to record this podcast because I don't think there's any La Liga games happening right now.
Yeah. Yes. So right now it's actually pretty okay because yeah, it's insane. I mean, but you only notice if you don't watch football, which I don't. But many others, they don't even know about it because I was watching football. I didn't notice. The good thing is the people that notice, they learn about VPNs. They actually learn, hey, there's an easy solution to this. And there's, I don't think Spain has the ability to go full on China.
Yeah.
There's actually a solution to this. And now my normie friend circle, they actually have VPNs installed on their phones. It was like, okay, that's not a bad development,
That's true.
Yes, it's a sovereign tool they suddenly have on their phones. Their own website was blocked. And I was like, the bad thing is really it affects, no Facebook, no Meta, none of that. Those are affected because they don't use Cloudflare. But it affects a lot of small websites, small shops, small news outlets. And they realize their own website is not working. VPN, they know about it, and they're kind of a little bit prepared for that doomsday if it should ever come. They just toggle the VPN on and say, "Hey, things are working now."
No, for sure. It's interesting, like in Europe where like nothing's really restricted. Well, at least up to recent, the average person never really needed the use case of having a VPN. It was just like seen as those things for like people that want to do like anonymous, like illegal activities online, and they hit the toggle and they're anonymous. But then like if you live in some parts of the world, like I moved to Russia a year and a half ago, and here without a VPN, you're like not even YouTube, nothing works. By default, I've got VPN switched on all of my devices 24/7, 7 days a week, because I have to connect it online. But then I realized after some time, I was like, well, actually, that's amazing, because like my IPs are constantly like jumping from one place to another one. Like it really pushes you to anonymize as much as possible your online activity. And I think, unfortunately, with how things are going in Europe, more and more people will have to adapt VPNs to be able to access different websites. And as I mentioned, in the UK, I've been watching recently, last few days, because they had this buffer, I think until end of July. You had to comply with this whole age verification and stuff, which is all done to protect us, right, Kilian? Like, so we don't watch harmful stuff, give harmful stuff to our kids, but then like everything is tracked. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you travel to the UK, you need to download this app and basically verify yourself with your age and everything, and have that app installed on your device, which essentially don't trust verify, but you can't verify. For all I know, it's tracking all of my activities, what I'm doing online, and looking for that hate speech when I'm going to put it out, which is just like dystopian Orwellian world, like insane.
Yeah, interesting news. It's coming to the EU too. So the age verification thing was announced, I think before the weekend.
Wow. The whole of EU or just some parts?
EU-wide. So if it's a
EU is EU, like they're in the club or you're outside the club. Yeah, and what's the deadline for that? Do you know? Or
12 months. 12 months, as far as I know, ticking from now, so about summer 2026.
And you're going to have to verify your age on all of these platforms? Or
no idea.
We'll see.
No idea.
Wow. Well, I guess I packed up out of Europe on time, because I don't see any good things happening anytime soon. It's a pretty crazy world for the free world, right? The democratic capital of the world, where now we need to like prove everything to everyone, and who knows where our data is being stored. And just these honeypots. The scariest part is not so much like giving up your information, but like who uses it and who gets access to it. Like these government institutions and servers, they get hacked left, right, and center. Like it's run by like 50, 60-year-old dudes that are fully outdated with cryptographic attacks that are happening.
Windows Server, yeah.
It's scary, like I recently saw a meme on X. It was KYC doesn't stand for know your client, it's kill your client. And I was like, yeah, like it's getting scary, especially with the Bitcoin stuff. Like what we saw with a huge hack with Coinbase earlier this year, like finding amount of Bitcoin that you hold, which most people on Coinbase hold their Bitcoin on Coinbase, then like where you live and everything. It's like, it's really scary. Like you've done all of this to comply with the regulations, but then you fully expose yourself to the wrong people that probably don't have the best intentions for you. And they can essentially just roll up middle of the night and rob you clean. And you can't even bullshit them around how much Bitcoin you have because they've got the records, which is, I'm laughing about it, but it's scary stuff. So if anything, like non-custodial, non-KYC is the way to go.
100%.
But yeah, I guess we're
100%.
not going to dwell too much on the doom. Let's stick on the sunny side of the grass.
We're building solutions for all of that, right?
I know, yeah. And it could be a long episode on that one. But going back to the positives and exciting stuff, Kilian, there's a lot of development now happening in implementations on the Bitcoin, the layer one, the on-chain. What are you most excited about with the new developments that are being proposed and what's rolling out in the near future?
On-chain, you say, like on Bitcoin itself?
On Bitcoin itself, yeah, on the main chain.
On the main chain. Wow.
What's your take on the CTV, for example, which has been in talks for a long time?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we officially signed, so Michael, as CTO of Boltz, officially signed the CTV plus check from Stack letter of developers because we think it's a good idea to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. It doesn't bring these, max improvement and all these amazing left and right features, but none of the proposals does. But it makes
still a nice improvement.
It's a nice improvement, and it makes things more efficient, especially for new layer twos, which is what we are, a little bit focused on. If you can improve the signatures required for this Bitcoin bridge to the layer just by, a factor of, I don't know, like something like 10-20% because it requires one signature less, then it's already great. Right? So that's the kind of things we're talking about. That's really the only thing, best to my knowledge, that's happening on Bitcoin right now. I'm not sure. Well, BitVM-3. So that's maybe something else. So BitVM is making decent progress to say the least. So there are many projects already on the way to design layer 2 bridges with one of n, just one honest party could secure basically the bridge. As long as you have one guy honest in the bridge setup, remains secure. And to build a bridge to the layer with that, one of the projects is, for example, BitVM-X. They are working on the Rootstock sidechain, which we implemented. They are building a new bridge based on that design, basically getting rid of the federation. So right now you're trusting 9 servers, 9 entities. In the case of Liquid, it's 15, but it's not great at all. You're trusting these people.
Middlemen, basically.
100%. It's not very non-custodial, actually.
Yeah.
And to see that improve, that would be quite the thing. And I skimmed. I can't say I have really verified the math and read it, but BitVM-3 basically reduces the amount of data that you need to put on chain from megabytes to a couple of 100 kilobytes. So transactions. Wow. So actually doing these fraud proofs actually becomes economical and viable, which is just, I didn't see that happening, to be honest. When I saw the first paper with these mad gates and crazy thing, I mean, it was a super cool trick, but to actually have that used to do basically sophisticated computation that was not possible before in Bitcoin, I didn't see that happening in production at all because of the insane resource requirements, complexity and costs as well that it would require for each transaction. But now it's down to a level where I'm pretty sure it's coming. I see Bitcoin layers being developed with BitVM, with a BitVM-based bridge, 100%.
I like it.
So those are the two things that are really interesting with regards to the layer 1 or the connection to the layer 1, I would say. Not sure if you have anything else in mind.
No. I was going to transition now to the upstairs, to the layer 2, what we mentioned a bit earlier. And I think we were both thinking about the same thing. And I guess that's ARC, with the coming of ARC, which last month at BTC Prague, that was especially on the dev day, which is probably my favorite part of BTC Prague. A lot of talks were dedicated to ARC and what it's solving. And what's your take on ARC? And maybe to some listeners, I don't think I've mentioned much about ARC on this show. Maybe you can give just kind of a TLDR. How does ARC fit in as a layer to what we already have with Lightning and Liquid?
Okay, let me try. So ARC is the new Bitcoin layer 2, and it gets complicated real fast if you get into the details. But generally speaking, or in a simplified way to express it, it has, in most of the cases, actually, it's a real layer 2, the same as Lightning, in a way that it gives you the unilateral exit property. That is the very definition of a Bitcoin layer 2. For example, Rootstock and Liquid don't have that because you have trust assumptions everywhere. With, we just talked about it. You're trusting these middlemen to hold your coins. That's not the case on ARC if you fulfill certain steps.
And they're kind of a side chain to the layer 1 instead of on top as a separate layer, right? To my understanding. No?
You can see
no,
it on
they're the
top.
same thing. Okay.
Yeah, I would side. I wouldn't say side. It's all layers sit on top for me.
Okay.
You know, that's easier to imagine. So you
Got
have a
it.
Bitcoin base chain, and then you move your Bitcoin 1 layer higher. It could be Liquid. It's a layer, but it's not a layer 2. So you could be moving it to ARC. You could be moving it into a Lightning channel, but they all sit on top. And what ARC allows, and what is really good in the strength, is that it does not require any changes to Bitcoin. It does not require specifically, and I have to say it again, just in case it's not clear, because there's a lot of confusion around this. It does not require any covenants on Bitcoin. CTV, CSFS is not required for ARC to work. ARC works right now. As a matter of fact, we're actually running together with the ARC Labs team. There is a mainnet instance that is doing mainnet transactions just fine. And what ARC is very strong in is that it's simple enough because it all ends up in a regular Bitcoin transaction. So it leverages Taproot as a base technology to put in a lot of information and a lot of transactions actually onto the Bitcoin blockchain. So how does that make sense? ARC is really good in taking a lot of transactions, potentially thousands or tens of thousands, and batching it, and that's a new word, batch it into a batch and put it on chain as only one single transaction. And
so it comes out as one UTXO, all of these 10,000 batched into one.
Yes, one transaction, exactly. And the genius thing about this is the economic logic is exactly inverse from what we know from the Bitcoin blockchain itself, which is the more transactions want to fit into a block, the more expensive it gets because I'm competing with all the others to get my space.
Yeah.
With ARC, it's exactly vice versa. The more transactions participate in a batch, the more transactions are in there, the cheaper it actually gets, because the cost of this one transaction on chain are actually shared with more people. The more people are shared with, the cheaper it gets. So when I understood this actually blew my mind. I was like, oh, okay, I see now. I see how this makes a lot of sense. So for your listeners that are slightly familiar with a rollup in the, EVM world.
We had an episode recently with Alpen, so we did talk briefly about rollup.
Okay, if your listeners know a little bit about Alpen and the rollup, which are also coming to Bitcoin, as you know, with Alpen, but it's pretty much like that. ARC is a Bitcoin native rollup. It does not require any BitVM magic on the Bitcoin side in order to verify, these proofs from a rollup, like it is the case with Alpen, which is amazing, by the way, but they require BitVM to really work and to do the fraud proving. It doesn't require any of that. It just pushes a Bitcoin Taproot transaction on chain. So it's the simplicity of ARC in that case that shines here. So TLDR, put a lot of transactions together in a batch, share the costs. That's what ARC is. And
got it.
Now we have ARC, the base protocol, which defines all of that. It's called VTXO. So once you lift or you lock your Bitcoin into an ARC, they changed their name from a UTXO to a VTXO. And then you are exposed to the ARC server. So it's not a decentralized network, anything. It's one server. Very similar to Boltz. It's only one entity with one server. It's one ARC server that issues a VTXO for you. And then you can send it around in an ARC and get it include it in a batch and share the cost with it. But what it also does is that actually you do not have to, and here is come a little bit of nuance that Arc provides, and where Arcade OS, the project that Diego from Arc Labs is working on, is actually taking the base protocol and building something even more on top, and that's Arcade. So Arcade is basically like a superset, right? So it includes Arc, but more.
Okay.
The Arc protocol. So what they do on top is they actually allow you to transfer VTXOs to another user in the Arc without going down to the chain. And you do not get the unilateral exit rights. So in that state, Arcade is not, a real layer 2 with unilateral exit rights, but they provide a lot of technology on the back in order to make it as safe as possible. They call it pre-confirmed state. So these pre-confirmations, when you stay within the Arc without going on chain, as long as their security mechanisms, which are pretty decent in my opinion, hold up, you have a good enough finality to say that's secure enough for me. For example, to use it for a spending wallet, right? So like a Lightning wallet, like people use wallet of Satoshi with $200 without even thinking about it, because why would they be thinking about it? It's just $200. So that's kind of the assumption here, to be able to build out use cases for these just much better than wallet of Satoshi, which obviously is just a database. So that's basically a little bit the nuance of Arc. You have the Arc protocol with the batching, and then you can even build more on top, which is not only the pre-confirmation stage. What Arcade also added is actually a new programming language where you can do more things than just Bitcoin strip. So you are actually enabling like a Solidity style, like on an EVM, programmable money there. Again, which also doesn't provide the unilateral
contracts on top of it.
But you can write smart contracts. You can write much more complex financial logic up there than you would be able to do on the base layer or somewhere else. Well, that's where it gets actually really interesting, and it's just provides a lot of flexibility for projects to build on Arc. So it's not Arcade itself that goes, we are the product and you all come down. No, it's there will be SDKs. It's similar to Boltz. We have this background service, and it's Agua and Bull are actually shipping it to end users. Yes, we have our website. That's a direct way to interact with us, but the long-term vision is that we'll be, integrated natively in as many products as we can. But users actually do not necessarily know they are using Boltz under the hood, and that's the same idea with Arc.
I love it. Well, definitely. I don't know if Satoshi's still around, but if he would be, I think he would be proud with all the stuff that's being built on top of it in such a short amount of time. It's. I feel like we're getting to a parabolic stage of Bitcoin development and what is possible on it. Not just peer-to-peer on-chain transaction, but like the amount of use cases and future financial instruments that could be built on top of it. That you don't need all this Ethereum, all that crap that's out there that's trying to kind of change finance, and we'll see what will happen in the long term.
But that was not always clear. Just, I mean, now it's happening, and I'm amazed by it. But we were going through a couple of years where, Andreas Antonopoulos, he was always going out there like years ago saying, whatever others are building, in the end, if it's good, Bitcoin will adopt it. That didn't happen for quite some time. And I was like, shit, like, why is it not happening? All the restrictions, and we need forks, and we need to do so much more in order to have it happen. But now it's actually happening. So I think this Pandora's box is open. There's no stopping now.
No, for sure. And it's always good. You don't want to be the first one to try out and break stuff, because if we break things on Bitcoin now, there's going to be dire consequences. So it's nice that kind of people that are building these new ones, we kind of witnessed what was happening, what was breaking, taking the good things and trying out, things that have been tested. And I'm super excited for what's happening. I can't even imagine where we're going to be with Bitcoin in 2023. And I'm not talking about the fiat value. I'm talking about what you can do with it and what Bitcoin can facilitate for the world. It's a very exciting time. And I guess with that, I'll transition to the final question. What advice would you give, Kilian, to someone that's looking to start building on Bitcoin today? Like the young guys in their early 20s that just finished college, discovered Bitcoin, love programming, and they're like, I want to build something on Bitcoin. What advice would you give to them today?
Don't bother with Bitcoin scripts. Don't try to be a core developer, be an application developer. Think about something, discover a real world problem. Go out there, see, that's a problem. and see if there's a fit, if Bitcoin could use it. Don't get nerd sniped and build something incredibly cool from a technological perspective that then is used by exactly no one.
use case.
We have enough of that, really, more than enough of that. So walk around in your neighborhood, go to places in developing countries, see how Bitcoin could solve issues and build applications for that with products like with protocols like Arc, with programming languages that are offered, for example, on Arcade, with EVM, already existing EVM environments like Rootstock. Or if you want to stick to the UTXO model, you can do that too in Arc or in Liquid, for example. You have everything you need. There's no need for you to go, super deep level, build a useful application. That's why.
And in most cases, a web application will be a much easier route than doing an actual software or mobile application.
Yeah, to test it out. I mean, not everyone has the luxury like us where we can be, this background infrastructure provider, and others are doing the hard work of, not building the actual end user application and pushing it through the App Store reviews, which is a pain in the ass. But I would definitely start off with a web app. It's yeah.
I think that's
just less friction.
Fantastic advice. And anything else, Kilian, that we didn't touch upon regarding Boltz or what's happening with the layers 2 that you wanted to touch upon on today's episode?
Sorry, could you repeat this? My headphones just died, so just
no worries. One more. I was mentioning, is there anything else that you had in mind that you wanted to touch upon with regards to Boltz or any of the L2s which are being developed today? Anything that we didn't cover in the episode?
No, I think we covered it pretty well, to be honest. No, all good from my side. Keep building.
Keep building and don't be afraid to break things, because
by
building, you break
especially
things.
If you're on a layer, you can't really break Bitcoin. Don't be afraid of things.
That's true. Well, Kilian, before we wrap up, where can we send listeners to go learn more about you and follow the great things that you're building with Boltz? I guess you already mentioned the Boltz website. That's the number one place, but for yourself?
I mean, all is linked there. If you go to Boltz.exchange, especially in the footer on the bottom, you have our you have a curated YouTube playlist. There you see a couple of videos of products of us or demos, and the BTC Payday in Prague, for example, how I was demoing the Boltz plugin there. You can discover our solutions, and also I think quite interesting is our blog.boltz.exchange. It's also linked there, where you can read about our products. That is a little bit, we have a couple of things going on. That is not only the website. You can read about it there.
Amazing. And with regards to socials, you're both on X and Nostr?
Yes, of course. Also all linked on the website. You'll find it there.
Fantastic. Well, Kilian, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Thank you for coming on the show again, giving us a deeper look into the mission behind Boltz and what's happening under the hood and all the exciting development with the L2.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. And of course, and to everyone tuning in today, if you got value out of this episode and learned something new or just enjoy the conversation, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps more people discover the show and join the movement towards sovereign Bitcoin use. And if you're ready to take your self-custody game to the next level, check out my Become Unruggable Bitcoin mentoring service that I provide. It's designed to give you all the skills and confidence to take full control of your Bitcoin. You can reach out to me via the link in the show notes or reach out to me directly on Nostr or X. I'd love to connect and help you out. And I'll leave you with this quote: "Those who build freedom tools don't ask for permission." Thank you for listening to another episode of Your Bitcoin Story. Until next time, stay curious, stay sovereign.